Hello everybody and welcome back to the repair channel. Here we have clowns. I believe it's Midway. It looks like an L-shaped Midway board. And it is wrapped up to high heaven. I don't even know where to start with this. It's like plastic wrap. I think I'm just going to go to town with my knife and cut this out of here. So, let's get this board set out of all of this plastique. Clowns. It's a new one for me. I've never worked on a clowns board. Might be next week before I get to it, by the looks of this. This is some serious wrap. This thing is seriously wrapped up. Have you guys ever heard of the term overkill? That was overkill. Alright, we're starting to see something here. There we go. Clowns! Let me put this all up. I'll reuse this, but I will not reuse all that plastic wrap. Okay, so clowns. Typical Midway 8080. Space Invaders style Midway 8080 with the one chip here. Early. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 original ROMs, which is kind of cool. They say clowns actually on them. I'll show you. It's a nice looking board. Original. Quite original. Clowns. D2, C2, H2. This is E2. Is that H2 or E2? Yeah, so clowns. Nice ceramic Intel 8080 chip. Onboard amplify. Looks pretty simple. It looks like Space Invaders, to be honest. Looks like all the controls are here. There's not going to be any extra boards off to the side or anything like that. We're going to have to replace all these caps. These are famous for going open on these boards. So we'll replace all of these little capacitors. And these guys like to explode. These two tantalums. They love to blow up. They just love it. I am surprised that this is not some big ugly socket right here. These sockets will have to be replaced because these are absolute trash sockets. These right here, garbage. So the sockets will probably need to be replaced. And we'll have to solder some stuff. Replace caps. These look like no, they are not strapped as 2716s. It doesn't look like. But at the same time, we don't have little tantalum caps right in here, so that tells me it's not a tri-voltage ROM, because usually these caps will be in if it's a tri-voltage ROM, but I think these might be a tri-voltage ROM anyway. They might just not need, well, I don't know. This looks like it's strapped for a tri-voltage EEPROM, so I think that's what's in here. And I'll have to pull the fluke data for this if needed so that we can test these. And yeah, so first things first, let's take this board set apart. And yeah, these sockets are not good. They are just not good. Caps, sockets. Caps and sockets, I believe, is a good place to start. I don't know. Maybe these ones... I don't know. We'll see. Let's start with caps first. These sockets might actually be okay with these chips. I don't know. Let's just start with capacitors. That's a definite. And while we're on the subject of sockets, I have a funny, well, I don't know if it's funny, but I have a story that I want to share with you. So it's story time, guys. Gather around the campfire. Very early on in my channel's history, I was always adamant about Atari sockets, as I am still today. The original Atari sockets are garbage. And generally, they always need to be replaced. You know the ones I'm talking about on Atari boards with the like tension pins. Those things are so garbagey. They always need to be replaced. And I always harped on that from the beginning of my channel. I got messages from, I'm going to say, some prominent people that repair boards that were calling me out saying, you don't need to replace those sockets. That's kind of overkill. They're not bad. Oh, I've repaired X amount of boards and never had any issue, you know, with old sockets and stuff like that. You know, if you clean the chips, then the sockets are fine. I used to get messages like that all the time. I have gotten a repair or two in here where I know it's been repaired. The board has been repaired by at least one of those people that were commenting those comments to me, because they put a sticker on the board that they repaired it and the date. Well, I've done repairs that those people who said that to me about sockets did a repair, and I got the board in for a repair myself, and guess what the only thing that the board needed was? Take a wild guess what the only thing that board got, that I got in, needed. You guessed it. Sockets. The sockets needed to be replaced. So I thought that was a funny little story that I'd share. Sockets are, connections are everything on these old boards. And especially those old Atari sockets are just trash. They're time bombs waiting to die on you. So those always need to be replaced. These ones are probably garbage too. but I'm not exactly sure. These are not a very common socket, but yeah, that was a funny story. I thought I'd share it. So yes, it does matter. These sockets do need to be replaced. Taking a time out because my desoldering gun is kind of crapping out a little bit, so it needs to be cleaned and it needs a new valve. In my experience, you cannot clean these valves once they go bad. You need to replace them. So I got all the plastic soaking in some alcohol, and my screws are kind of garbage. So I'm actually taking my screws to the hardware store and I'm going to buy new screws. You can see this one. I've been using this one as a flathead for quite some time. I want to replace all these screws, so I'm going to head to the hardware store and match them up and get some new ones. I got a new filter. I got this cleaned out pretty good. And if you have a Hako, this is a must. Go to the hardware store and get a spring, if I can get this out of here. Hold on. Go to the hardware store and get a spring of some sort. I would like a bigger spring. I might replace this spring with one that's a little bit bigger. Try that. But put a spring in there and it just makes it a million times better. It's not even close. They should come with a spring. It should come that way. But it doesn't. You need to put a spring in there and it just keeps your gun clean and keeps it from clogging. So I'm going to head to the hardware store, get some things, and come back, put this thing together, and get back to it. And we're all plugged back in, put back together, cleaned up. I put a new filter in it. And of course we cleaned up everything underneath, new valve. And I did go and I got new screws for that. And yeah, so we're back in business. Alright, my maintenance work is done. New sockets, caps, and this board set looked like it was completely untouched from factory, so I wanted to make sure that it stayed that way. And I've got it all cleaned up to where it looks like factory work. So this thing looks like it hasn't been worked on yet. And the maintenance is all done. And it looks like new still, but with new parts. And I tested some of those caps, and while there wasn't any that were flat out open, there was about half of them that were half bad. They were really high resistance and they were just bad caps, including the video cap, so that might have caused some kind of vertical scrolling or something like that. Anyway, so that's that. And these are 2708 ROMs, so there's nothing special about them. They're not masked ROMs or anything like. They're 2708 EEPROMs. So I'll put them back in the board, and I got this board also done with maintenance. All of the caps have been replaced. These two guys here, and the one underneath there, and then that one. And I resoldered these two connectors. And, of course, I cleaned up after myself. So that the board set remains looking new. Okay, we got it all hooked up. I got the reset connected to here. I don't know if that's correct. In a lot of these very older Midway, the very first of the Midway 8080 boards, the reset does come in on here, on the card edge. It may not be that way. This may be up here. I don't know yet. So I'm going to fire it up and see if it does anything. I just make sure this is plugged in correctly, my reset signal. And we are all hooked up and plugged in, so let's see what happens. Yeah, it looks like it's just not booting, so I'm going to have to pull the schematic for this. And it looks like the reset probably comes in up here on these connectors. So I'll have to figure out where to place the reset signal. And I'm going to go ahead and check my voltages off camera. Just make sure my voltages are good and adjust if I need. Alright, after looking at the schematic, the reset comes in right here on pin 5 of this guy and goes around and down to a 7404 right here. So I've got the reset signal hooked up there. This is actually, this harness right here is for Space Invaders. This coin will not work for this game. It's not the same. But I've got the reset signal in there, so let's go ahead and give it a shot. And see if it comes up with clowns. Nope. Alright, not working. And okay. Alright, so it's not working. So I guess the next thing to do is to put the fluke on this. And now one thing that was suspicious is I checked the voltages and they're all good except the -5 was at -4.65 volts, which is odd for these sets, for it to be that low. So it's something to keep in mind. Maybe we've got a RAM. I did go around and I felt on these and I did not feel any warmth on any of the chips. That's kind of, I didn't really feel anything out of the ordinary. So yeah, I don't know. But I think I can go ahead and put the fluke on this thing, and I need to get some information on what these signatures are supposed to be. And then go ahead and do some fluke checks. Alright, actually, this is supposed to be the reset pin. This 5 right here, not this. So I'm going to take this, put it over here, and then see if we get anything. It's supposed to be like this. That's how it's supposed to be. So now let's try it. And it still doesn't work. So we still got issues. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. That's the reset right here, 5, this 5. So now it is in there right, and it still don't work. Okay, so fluke time. Yeah, we're getting a decode error bit 9. And if I just run this again, I'll repeat, and you'll see this does not work right. This is supposed to go by sections. And it's just kind of jumping down here and then jumping back up here. So yeah, we have a decoding error for sure. Still a little bit suspicious about this power. The -5 volts is not good. I don't know why. These RAMs are using more power than they should or something. I don't know. This is going to kick back that error though. We'll go ahead and bit 9 is probably down here. And we'll look at these MUX outputs. The 157 outputs. Yeah, bit 9. So, yeah, let's do that. We'll go ahead and look at the schematic and find out which one is bit 9. And look at that, and it's probably stuck or something like that. Okay, I was doing some ROM checks, and I'm getting the same thing, D065 for every ROM. So let's go. It'll beep and then it'll be D065 probably. Yeah, see? I'm getting the same signature out of every ROM, so that tells me nothing's happening here. I'm going to try looping this and see. Oh boy. I got to get this out, and then I'm going to probe and see if there's anything going on these. Yeah, I'm going to try to stay out of the way. You're going to see me here. Hi. Hi. Let me see if I can do this by getting out of the way. The chair's in the way. Let's do this. Let's move this back in a little bit that way. I'm going to lean forward and just probe around and see what's going on. See if I can see anything. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Low. High. Let's do this. Let's do a ROM. Okay, and then loop. So this should be accessing this chip. And it's not. This chip is not being accessed at all. And we have a 42 here. 0, 1. Okay, something ain't right here. Alright, I think we might have, it might not be RAM addressing, we might have problem with just regular old addressing out of the CPU, because it should be accessing this ROM, the 0 ROM, H ROM if you will, and it's not. Yeah, this should be going low. And this one is being that's being accessed. Why? Why is this being accessed? Alright. Well, I hope I wasn't in your way too much. That was probably a pretty bad shot. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and probe around on the 08s that drive the addresses out and see if there's something funky on there. Funky. Let's do this. Let me move you around a little bit. Make it better. Let me get a better shot. Alright, that's a better shot. Now, I can't hardly see what's going on. I can try. Let's look at these. This is a 08. This is one that drives out. So we got that bit. That's not a 08, is it? Yes, it is. Okay. Input. Input, output. That's a 08. That is bad. Input, output. That's bad. This one makes more sense. Maybe those two lines aren't. Let's do this. Let's grab let's put both of them on and see if, bear with me. I'm going to hook up another probe. And it doesn't, I don't need to do this. I already know this chip's no good because of that one high all the time output. You have a 08, if one of the inputs is low, it's going to be low. The output will be 0. So there should be zeros on this output. This is an input. And my ground is not very good. Let's try that again. Okay. Input. The output should look like that. And that's the output. It's high all the time. So that's definitely a bad chip. Now I'm going to continue looking at the rest of these and see if the rest of them look okay. Do some general probing around and see if I can't find a problem. More problems. Okay, we're back together. I replaced the 08. And we're ready to fire it back up and see if it'll live. Let's see, will we see clowns? Ooh, look at that. Okay, that don't look right. I think we have graphic issues. Yeah. I think I'm going to have to look this up, but I bet you these little lines aren't supposed to be here. This might be RAM problems. So you know what I think I want to do now is put the fluke back on it and go over the RAM and see if we have a RAM issue. See if we have a RAM issue in the video RAM section of the RAM. So let's do that. Okay, we're doing our video test. And so far it looks as it should. I don't see any goofiness at all in the pattern, so I think this is just going to be a problem in the game board back here. There's going to be something wrong with some shifters or something like that in the graphics portion of this board, the game board. It's probably bit shifters or something like that we'll look at. It looks like it's a It looks like it's a shift register issue. Yeah. Or serializer or something like that. So we'll get this done and then put it back together. I'll have to put the sides on it and everything so that we can flip it up over and look at this backboard. And yeah, this just completed and it is a-okay, no problem. It's not a video RAM issue. Okay, I got the board situated. There are 4 of those 25S10 shifters up here. There's 4 of them. And I just really quickly jumped one over each of those. No change. So I don't think it's these. So I'm just probing around, and you can see I got a red dot right here. Maybe you can see that. Red dot right here. That's a 161 counter. And if we look at that thing, here is the clock. Okay, that's the clock signal. Here's the clear signal. No clear. Here is the count enable. So we have a count enable. And then we have the other count enable, the trickle enable or whatever it is, right here. And we have a load signal, no load signal, so we're not loading any. So it should just be counting freely. Here's the lowest bit, count bit, the next one, and the most significant count bit. No, the least. No, this is the most significant count bit. And then the trickle, the carry count is floating. There is no carry count. It's just floating. So, yeah, that's pin 15 of that guy. So that thing is dead. I bet you if we just take a 161 and jump over that, it'd probably clear up all of them lines. So let's do that. Let's grab a 161. Because it's floating, it'll probably drive the signal. So we take a 161 and we'll just jump it over that. Alright, I got it jumped over it, and it's still messed up. So let's take a look. Yeah. It's kind of fighting it. Yeah, it's not really connected very good, I don't think. Oh, dropped it. There's the clock. And the output bit is... there it is. So now we have an output bit. So that... yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to have to replace this chip. And then see what we get. Okay, I got this one jumped. And then I guess the next in the chain is this counter right here. And it is also bad. If I probe this one, here's the clear signal. There is no clear signal. Clock. Count bit. The other count bit. Load, there is no load, so this should just be free counting. And this is the least significant bit. There's no count. This thing does not count. So that's another. This one's bad as well. You can see I got it marked. So far we have two 161s that need to go. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to go ahead and replace these two 161s and let's see what we get. I replaced those two 161s, and now we do have good counting going on. The signals are looking good, whereas there was no signals before, so that's good. But we still have the weirdness. And what did that fix? I don't know. I mean, what are those involved in? I'm going to have to look at the schematic and find out what these 161s are actually involved in. But anyway, I got just poking around. I'm simply probing around the board, and I came to this 153 right here. And this 153, this, you can see I got it jumped. This output looked like this, and I was like, well, it looks like it's a floating, just a bunch of floating inputs. So I started probing the inputs, and that's not floating. That one is kind of floating. That's very strange. That one's low. That one's got a signal. But yeah, this that's the output. The output of my chip, I have the leg lifted. And the output of my chip is this. So that 153 is definitely no good. But why is that one signal kind of floaty? That one's weird. Third pin, that's pin what, 8, 9, 10, pin 11. It's kind of garbagey looking. What if I pull this chip off? Pin 11. 9, 10, 11. See, now it's just pegged way low, which tells me that it may be wanting to go high. See how it's goofy like that? So I think what I want to do is just clip that right out of there. Now let's see what that pin 11 is doing. Well, it's low. Yeah, I don't know. Alright, anyway, this guy right here is no good. So we'll replace this 153. Okay, I replaced that 153. And look at that. That seemed to have fixed it. I believe this is what this is supposed to look like. Interesting game. So let's understand what was going on. It's a 153 right here at... Let me get some locations and find out these chips, what they did. Okay, here's the schematic. Those two 161s were in the music generator. So there'd have been no music. No music. And all of these sounds, there's a bunch of LM3900s on this board. And that could definitely be a problem with, you remember how our -5 was a little low? I believe those use -5. Let's see. I'll have to zoom in on it at another time, because I can't zoom in on that right now. The 153 right here at A2 which cleaned up our signal, is just goes down and it's basically status data. So, yeah. And the status data it takes inputs from the shifters. So that obviously tells the CPU where everything is, where to draw something or other. You know, so yeah, so that would make that do what we saw. Yeah. These are those shifters, the 25S10s, and those data outputs from the shifters come over and input the 153s. So it might be telling it to, you know, don't draw anything right there, and it's actually drawing a line, you know, type of thing. So, yeah, that's that. No music. I need to hook up sounds, and we need to hook up the, I need to get the sounds all hooked up and everything. And I want to zoom in on these LM3900s. Are they using -5 volts? Because if those are using -5 volts, which I think they do, I think I'm just going to blanket replace every one of them, because one of them is drawing that -5 to where it shouldn't be. So I'm going to look at that really quick. Here's a 3900, 12. It looks like it's +12 only. Let me look at that off camera. Okay, I've got everything hooked up except I don't have pots. I need to put some pots on here to control the little guys on the bottom. But I've got everything else. I got my speaker. I got power coming into this. Yeah, so if I can hear that. That tells me the amp works. I can coin up and I'll hit 2-player start. That's this one. And I'll just ground it to my ground wire here if I can. There we go. No, it didn't start. There we go. Now it's started, but you can see there's no sound. I've got the volume pot halfway, so we should be blasting some sound. And there's nothing. But I think first things first, I want to put some pots on here so that I can actually play the game. And then we'll worry about sound. Right now we have no sound. And I think the amp is fine. I want to check the sound generator. It's probably right here. The noise generator circuit could be bad. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, first things first, pots. I think they're just probably 5K pots. Okay, I now have the pots wired up. So I'm going to start a 2-player game, and I'm going to try to move both pots. Okay, coin and coin. Okay, and a 2-player game. This is 1 player. Doesn't seem to be working. Oh yeah, it is. There. Two-player. Yeah, it works. It's difficult. Alright, so both sides do work. I'm going to play one more game. Okay, here we go. One player. Press 2-player button to start game. One player. And I got this thing wired up wrong. It's backwards. Oops, that was one player. Okay, yeah, the pots work. I got them wired backwards, though. I don't like that. But whatever, I guess it doesn't matter. Anyway, now we got to figure out the sound problem. Yeah, I got the pots wired backwards to where they move opposite of the way that you're trying to move them. Alright. Audio. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start a game again. Got a coin up. Start 2 players. There we go. I got 3900 chip right here. Hear that? I'm going to have to replace, I'm just going to replace all of the 3900s on this board. Alright, sound section rebuilt. All the amps replaced. And I replaced the 4006 and 4030 here in the noise generation circuit. So, let's put it back together and see what we get. I got it nice and clean too. Still looking like it's never been worked on. Okay, we're all hooked back up. Running. So let's see if we got some sound now. Coin, coin, coin. And let's go with the 2-player again. If I can get this to touch. There we go. Nothing. What I need to do is I need to hook this up and play it. I can't do it like that. So let me... That's a weird sound. I need to see what this actually is supposed to sound like. Okay, I think we might be... I think it might be okay. I don't know. I'll play another game. It does do some sounds. Okay, player 1. It's hard to play when it's the pots are backwards. Alright, so there's your little music at the end. So I'm going to double check the sounds. It sounds like we have the bow for the springboard, the psh for the exploding balloon, and the when you die, and then the little music jingle at the end. So it looks like we're sitting pretty now. Well, let me check really quick. I'm going to YouTube some gameplay of this and make sure that that is all the sounds, and then I'll be back to finish it off. Alright, yep, I was able to YouTube this game, the original hardware, not MAME gameplay. And yes, those are the sounds. So we are complete. So this thing, new sockets, caps, sockets and caps all around. Resoldered these headers. All new 3900s, and the noise section, the 4006 and 4030 chip replaced. It had 2 bad 161s and 1 bad 153 on it. And that is it. We are good to go. And this 08, remember, it had a bad 08. So that's it. Midway's Clowns. Early 8080 by Midway. So thanks to everyone for watching. As always, I appreciate the support to the channel. Check out channel memberships if you like this kind of stuff and you want to help support the channel. And also, I have a Patreon, Classicarcaderepairs / Let's try that again. www.patreon.com / Classicarcaderepairs is my Patreon page, and I have a lot of kind of interesting stuff over on there. I upload ROM files and other kind of goofy stuff that I find over there. It's a good way to help support the channel and what we're doing here, so appreciate everyone that does and everybody that watches. So hope you all have a good day, and we'll see you all on the next Classic Arcade Repair. Bye for now.